So when Miss Donyale Lewis arrived on the scene in 1965 in New York City, it seemed like she was poised to be that girl. She was considered the epitome of goddess-like beauty. I mean, she was 6'5", she had the face that was sculpted by the god. Like, sis was 8, she was 18, eating it up. So when she arrived on the scene and met with the editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar for the first time, she loved her. She was like, yes girl, we're gonna put you on the cover. However, we are gonna completely drain you of all of your color so that you are virtually unrecognizable to the white masses who will inevitably have a problem with this whole colored girl in our magazine thing. So that is also why she was pictured hiding her face on the cover of British Vogue. As we all know, the 60s was a time of radical political upheaval and racial desegregation. So it's safe to say that tensions were at an all-time high. Donyale was no exception to this. She was constantly discriminated against throughout her career. However, it was said that she preferred to work in Europe because they were much more open and tolerant towards people of color. And many other black historical figures have also stated that, like entertainer Josephine Baker and James Baldwin, who also fled to Paris, France to escape the racial tensions of the United States. Now, it was said that as her career was taking off all over the world, right? And the more she was getting famous, the more she was getting jobs and recognition, she was also becoming way more wild, free, and eccentric. Homegirl was partying it up with Andy Warhol, her boyfriend Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones. They were doing all sorts of drugs. You know, the popular ones of the 60s. Yeah, some Lucy and this little H. And it seemed like she was still struggling with a lot of the pain that she experienced in her early childhood, which is why she began experimenting in the first place. Ultimately, Donyale was seeking freedom from all the restraints of her earthly life. I mean, can you blame her to go from like a really hard childhood to an industry that's constantly discriminating against you and telling you you're ugly? Unfortunately, her addiction would eventually lead to her demise at the age of 33. And until now, her legacy was largely forgotten by the public. In my opinion, Donyale is certainly one of the faces of the 60s and deserves to be held in as high regard as her peers Twiggy and Edie Sedgwick.